Well, I believe our newspapers at that, but let me bring you this for now. Government has brought in 24 Cuban engineers to help address water infrastructure issues as well as to share their expertise. But South African engineers are calling on government to prioritize them, this especially those who are currently unemployed. So let's unpack this. I'm now joined by Chris Campbell, the CEO of Consulting Engineers South Africa. Mr. Campbell, it's good to have you and thank you so much for your time. I mean, if I may, I just want to quote the Department of Water and Sanitation here. Now, they're saying that they are actually bringing in a wealth of technical expertise, this to assist even with the training of local candidate engineers. Now, it seems the words that they're using here is highly, qualified engineers from Cuba with a vast skill, within the engineering industry and field. And this begs the question, does South Africa not have adequate skilled engineers?
Good morning, Tumelo, and good morning to your viewers here. I think the point is exactly that. It's normal to bring in experts to assist where you lack that specific expertise. I would argue that we actually do have those experts. It is unfortunate that many of them might have left the Department of Water and Sanitation, but they're certainly still around and they exist in the private sector. So one would have loved for the ministry to talk to the private sector and let's look at how can we assist in dealing with the challenge that you face. But of course, we also understand there's a little bit more to it than just 24 Cuban engineers. And we're not dismissive of the diplomatic collaboration. We just think that the timing and the consideration of trying to look at home first should have actually been prioritized.
Yeah, and that brings me to my next question, because, the justification that we also hear from the spokesperson, Sputnik Ratawi, is that this is nothing new. There are bilateral agreements between not only Cuba, but also with Japan, as well as the Netherlands. So this is more of an international playing field that they're at. But also just in terms of local engineers, were you consulted as eNCA? Were there conversations? Was the priority placed on South African engineers first before then moving to the 24 Cuban engineers?
So from a CESA, Consulting Engineers South Africa perspective, not a peep. And it's unfortunate because we have, often and quite frequently make attempts to have these kind of discussions with government and hope that they would, we discuss what are the challenges you have, how might the private sector be able to assist. But we tend to still have this more than arm's length relationship. And in my opinion, it is a bit tragic that, these cooperation agreements, this specific one has been in place since about 2001, and it's been renewed from time to time. We are in 2021. So 20 years later, any excuse that you might have used that we don't have those specialists, we then have ourselves to blame. But the counter argument is true. We have those experts, we had them all the time. We should have used those 20 years to pair our existing experts with the many unemployed graduates that we have. And we might in turn then have had a surplus of those kind of experts that we could share.
Right.
To other countries.
Was then your call to government? The decision has been made, but the decision was made with a lot of criticism because it's not the first time government has been criticized for not prioritizing unemployed, qualified candidates. We saw this with the health department, bringing in some Cuban doctors last year. But we know now that the cost to government is approximately 65 million in total for the Cuban engineers coming to assist with the ailing infrastructure. And calculations show that approximately 2.5 million per annum here is designated per engineer. So what's then your call to the government regarding this specific decision?
So, Tumelo, for now, the horse is bolted. The Cuban engineers that we talk about, and I guess it's really just the case of the ceremony having been hosted just a few days ago, They've apparently been in the country since October. So that horse is bolted. My proposal is that, and the 24 engineers, quite frankly, are not going to make a difference to the huge challenges we do have. So I would propose that government and private sector, through our institutions, such as Consulting Engineers South Africa, for example, and there are a few others that exist, that we get together and let's put our heads together on how might we solve these problems and work with the Cubans that are here. I think we're not of necessity wishing them away. Let's look at how do we strengthen, how do we use this as an opportunity to strengthen the relationship between government and the private sector. We need to embark on this journey together. And until and unless we do that, we're going to keep, I would say, almost scoring some own goals when you're not considering your people first.
All right. We'll have to leave it there due to time, but thank you so much, the President of eNCA, that's Chris Campbell, for joining us, CEO of Consulting Engineers South Africa.